In this quick video guide, we're gonna talk about UV mapping, how to place a material with a texture on an object, and then how we can adjust it using the Magic UV tool or Magic UV add-on that it's inside Blender. So I'm gonna show you what will be the issue here with this sort of object and how we can fix it. So I'm gonna start from a brand new file. I'm gonna do a new general in Blender. So I have this standard cube. And the first thing we're going to do is activate the add-on. So let's go to Edit, Preferences, go to the Add-ons section, look for Magic, and there it is. So this is pre-installed, so you don't need to download it and install it. You just need to activate it in these latest versions of Blender, and that's it. Now, if you want to see some more documentation, you can click here. You can see all the tools that are inside this add-on. Some of those are really advanced. Now, where do I find this add-on? I press N of my keyboard, or I click here and drag, and go all the way down to Edit. Now you can see it's right here. It's right now showing only this feature right here, which is copy and paste UV, which means that I can take a mapping or a UV from here and I can paste it onto another object, which is really easy to do. But first we need a texture. So also to access the other tools, we can switch to edit mode. You see here in edit mode, we can access to copy and paste, and now we can copy and paste single faces, UVs, and we can do more specific operation. We can manipulate, so we can flip, rotate, mirror, and scale, and so on. Now I need a texture to make some examples. And by the way, you can see here in Google, if you search for Magic UV, you can access the Blender manual, or you find also the GitHub page and other tutorials and references. Now, to get a texture, I am in Polyhaven, and I decided to take this one here, which is one of the latest, but you can take any brick or texture or rocks or whatever you like. Now I'm gonna use this one here. And to download this, just click here and go here to the three lines, click on the JPEG, and it's gonna open this one. And then you can right click and save the image, and that's it. So you're gonna have it in your computer. Now, once you have it, you can then use it in Blender or other 3D software. Now, to apply the texture here, let's create a material. So I'm gonna go back to object mode, and I'm gonna go here to material. I'm gonna create a new one. And then I'm going to go to the base color, click on this yellow dot, and then click on image texture, and then click on this open button folder, and then navigate where I saved my image. So in my case, it's right here. Select it. And now let's switch the view from the standard solid to the material preview. And there we go. So we can see it. And it's also kind of well displayed, because when you use again an object in Blender, it has already the mapping. So if I go here to UV editing section or interface, and I select all the faces of this cube, you can see I am in edit mode again. So if I do select all, this is the current mapping. So you can see it's perfectly mapped and packed inside the texture space. Now this is fine. But what happens if I start to manipulate this cube? So let me switch also here into material preview. So I'm gonna click my scroll wheel and then move the mouse and select this third sphere to see the material. And I start to model this cube to do something different. So let's say I wanna create like a table. So I'm gonna start here to extrude like this. And then I can extrude more, and then I can take these faces. You can already see that something strange is happening. Now here I'm gonna extrude along normals like this. So I have like the top of the table. Now let's make also the bottom right here, or I can actually use these faces. I'm gonna push this up a little bit and then select this and extrude them again. So when I have a complex model like this, you can see that things get stretchy and strange. This is because we lost the mapping. So you can see this face, for example. Here, it's only represented by a line, which means it's not correctly placed. And this is where Magic UV comes handy to do a quick mapping of this object. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the faces, go to, again, click on, with the scroll wheel, go back here and select all or press A. So you can see the mapping is still the one of the box, but right now I have many more faces to deal with. So press N to open again the sidebar and then go back to edit. And now let's do UV mapping. Now in this case, I'm going to use, well, you have different option. Let's try this one, for example, which is texture projection. So if I do enable, I'm able to see the texture here in the preview. So let's go on the top like this, and let's do here a project. So what I've done is I projected this one here onto every face of the object. So if I disable it, you can see that on the top is fine, but when I move around, you can see it's still stretched. Here is fine, but on the other sides is stretched because I'm working only on UV right now, which means X epsilon. So I need a third dimension, and this is UVW. So with UVW, if I do box mapping, I can map using 3 different projections from 3 different angles, X, epsilon, Y. And I need to select, I can either select only the faces that I want to map. For example, let's try only this and do box, so you can see there. Or I can do select O again, and let's box. Now, the problem now is that the texture is too small, and we can also see it from here. So you have different options. You can either work here in UV editing, so you can select the faces. So you go select all, and then you can scale them down from here. So you can see the more you scale it down, the bigger will be here in the object. You can also, take these, move them around, and work with the faces, with the points, with the edges. But this is a quick tutorial, so I'm just going to show you how you can quick fix the mapping on an object. You can see it's already done. Now you have extra tools here. You have Best Planner when you want to do something that's different from something art edged or with a strange shape. You can use Best Planner, which is going to kind of figure out the best position for those faces. And also don't forget that once you have the mapping correctly placed like this, you can then do UV manipulation, and you can flip, rotate, mirror, move. And if we want to scale from here and not from this other editor, what we can do is go to select all again, all the faces. So let me just select all, and we can go and use the scale, world scale. Now, there are different ways you can do this. So for example, if you go to the scaling density, you can measure the density, and then you can adjust here the scaling factor. Now this works like this. If I go low, so 0.1, for example, and say apply, it's going to make things bigger. If I do the other way, so let's make 10, it's going to make things smaller. So these are kind of repetition more than scaling. But that's what it does, is scale the texture of the material onto the object. So by using these different tools, you can easily overcome the problem of having a wrong mapping on your object. Now, this was, again, just a quick tutorial to introduce the tool. And if you're interested, you can check other documentation. And if you're interested in Blender, you will find in channel a lot of Blender video guides and also Blender video course that is really useful if you are not an expert in Blender. And so this will be all for this video guide. If you enjoyed, please subscribe to the channel. If you want to support us, join the channel as a supporter. Thanks for watching. See you in the next.